Hey guys, what's going on? It is Ash here. I'm coming at you today with a more long format, in-depth review of the big change, the big earth-shattering bombshell, if you will. Forgive the hyperbole, but I do think it is justified here for the big friendly challenges that were announced this morning in Clash. So, in case you missed the big announcement, essentially they're adding sandboxing in the game. You can challenge your friends and clanmates to friendly battles where you don't exhaust any troops or incur any costs along the way, and you don't exchange any trophies. So basically, you can just sandbox and practice your skills, and there are a lot of good pros and cons to this, and we're going to discuss those today. So this will be the format of the episode. I'll start with the pros of this feature in my view, then we'll move on to the cons, then we'll talk a little bit about how they can fix those cons, and then I'll give my overall thoughts on the update in general. So let's hop right into it here. Let's discuss the good parts of the friendly challenge, right? So number one, it's great for base design evolution on the individual level, especially. Think about it. You can test your own base and you can make it better. I mean, just at a ground basic level, that's really a cool feature. You can go ahead and continuing to test your base and learn how to crack other really popular bases out there. Number two, it's great for clan contests. Who can get the highest percentage? You can make your own tournaments even, where you can prepare bases for clanmates who haven't necessarily seen them, and then you can award or just go for bragging rights. There's all kinds of cool offshoot ideas that you can make on your own with this infrastructure now in the game. For number three, streaming. Well, to me, streaming Clash of Clans has always been a bit stale and a little bit boring, especially compared with the alternatives in Clash Royale. Now, to me, streaming is way more entertaining to watch. Well, not even entertaining, but really just more interactive. Picture watching your favorite streamer and then going into their stream and then him or her welcoming people into their clan and challenging them to beat their base, and you can even live spectate. So there's a number of cool little things you could do with that, and it would be entertaining to watch as well. You could even have a tournament-like feature that you kind of organize, the streamer organize themselves. So that's a really cool idea. Number four, a YouTube series. For a YouTuber like me, I could make cool series like, here's what I did wrong on this attack, and look at this, here's what I could have done differently, because feasibly I could go back and attack again, and again, and again, and again, and learn where I went wrong, and then try to fix that going forward, and that would make for entertaining, at least in my view, YouTube videos as well. Number five, you can just become a better attacker. Obviously, there's no troop cost. You can learn how to crack a base, just like modders could previously. You could actually learn how to crack these popular bases. Even trophy pushers could learn how to beat those really annoying bases that, you know, if I just had one more shot, I think I could get it. Well, maybe now you have that shot. And number six, it's an equal playing field. This is big, right? If they've made a strong anti-mod commitment in the last few weeks, and if that continues, it will put everybody on an equal playing ground where we all have the ability to practice attacks now, and no one has more ability than the other person. Okay, now let's move on to the cons. Well, it's a real big one in my opinion, and it's just my opinion. This is such a polarizing topic as is that everybody's gonna have their own individual point of view based on what type of gameplay they prefer. So in my view, clan war sandboxing is a big con. So competitive wars will be stuck in a situation where they'll be forced to build bases and then allow their clanmates to crack them. Now, cracking a base, a term that, you know, previously used only by modders, can take up to 8 hours. Just ask anybody who's modded. It can take a long time trying to pick apart these anti-3-star bases. And that's really not to say that there's not skill involved in repetition and skill involved in sandboxing. There certainly is. That's why there were plenty of really crappy modding clans out there, and then there was the elite modding clans who won even against other modding clans. So before I digress too much here, I just don't think this was the intention of the Clash team, to turn every competitive war clan into essentially a clan that was, you know, forced to sandbox to win these competitive wars. Now, this only affects about 1% of the community. You know, Joe Schmo down the street is never gonna have to consider having to mod a base 100 times for 8 hours to have fun with this new feature, and even have fun in what he thinks or she thinks is a competitive war. So it only affects a really small minority, so that's why we're going to have to take that into account when we propose the fix to this issue, which I'll do in just a second here. But just to piggyback on the cons here, even it doesn't have to be everybody in a clan that is using this sandboxing feature that is practicing cracking these bases. Even if only maybe 2 or 3 people in the clan were building and cracking all day, that clan will have a huge advantage. It doesn't have to be everybody. You guys know that in a lot of these close wars, it's decided by 1 or 2 stars. Now, if you have some hardcore guys in one clan who are putting the time in to really crack these bases and get 3 stars against these totally maxed out bases, well, that is an advantage. So it's going to force any clan who wants to be competitive to try to, have that advantage as well, try to take advantage of that system as well. And me personally, it's just not how I want to play the game. I don't have the time every other day to try to crack a base for 8 hours, but I do want to be a competitive player. I think I got what it takes to go ahead and stand with some of the best players out there. Not tooting my own horn, but I love the competitive element of the game that occurs with good planning, and it occurs with good on-the-spot execution and on-the-spot ability to go ahead and adjust on the fly, which you just don't see after the repetition-based skill set. Anyway, let's kind of move on here, right? Now, one thing I do want to touch upon here, and it falls somewhere between the cons and the fix category, and that is the copy map feature or copy base feature. Now, this was all taken from Clash Royale. This whole friendly battle system in clan chat with live spectating, all taken from Clash Royale. They have that in Clash Royale. It works really well, albeit a very different game. But Clash Royale has a copy deck feature, and obviously Clash of Clans, it's rather monotonous to build a base, let's face it. And the Clash of Clans has come a long way in 40 years. 40 years ago, people didn't mind sitting down and building a base. But it's funny how the digital world changes in just 4 years. Now people want their solutions, and they want them fast and now, and they don't necessarily have the time to sit down and build the base 5 times a week or 6 times a week. So I think there needs to be a copy base feature. I think it's time. It's fun to design a base, but now that we have this feature in the game, like it or not, we're going to have the ability to fine-tune our bases as we talked about on the pros, so there will be a significant amount of in-game base adjustment. So that's still there. That's not going to go away. I think personally, I just like to see the time shifted from building bases to figuring out how to make bases better, and that time will be saved by making the copy base feature and adding that to the game. So let's go into the fix here, right? So the fix will entail a few parts. I was actually talking to Jake and Powerbang and Galadon and my clanmate Morph, and I took a few ideas from all of them and my preconceived ideas, and I kind of put them all together and came up with what my solution would be with a lot of things in mind. I really want to keep in mind that we are the minority here. We are the minority. Most people don't watch YouTube videos who play Clash. Most people don't tune into streams. Most people don't practice hitting bases for hours upon hours, any of that more competitive stuff. So we have to keep that in mind and try to come up with a fix that's going to please us and not change this feature for a lot of people in the community who actually really, really like it as constituted. So my fix is going to start with a prep day where bases are not scoutable. So even if you wanted to build a base, you wouldn't be able to because you wouldn't be able to see it. So on prep day, bases are not scoutable. Maybe you can see how many troops are in their clan castle, so if you want to scout the clan castle, you can go ahead and do so, just so there's something to look at on the map so you can see the enemy. Now, obviously, there is a drawback here where you won't see if you're an underdog. Maybe the other clan has a bunch of 0.5s and you have no idea, but it's going to be a surprise on battle day. I don't think that will dramatically affect anything. And why is there no scouting on prep day? That leads me to the main point in the solution, which is there's a 24-hour cooldown on being able to friendly battle with a base that you've just created. Let me repeat that. After you create a base in one of your 6 saved base slots, there's a 24-hour cooldown before you can then challenge your clanmates with that base to beat it. What that's going to do is, obviously we know that prep day is 23 hours, battle day is 24 hours, so there's no feasible way that someone can build a base that the opponent has and then allow their clanmates to practice it. Rather, you can go back afterwards and practice after the war is done and try to get things right that you got wrong in the war, and you can have a lot of fun doing that, and of course you can still practice with all your other bases as well. Now, the reason I want prep day bases not to be scoutable is because otherwise, it would have to be a 48 or a 47-hour cooldown, the 23-hour prep day and the 24-hour battle day. And obviously you could say that everybody could set troll bases or rotate between bases for war, and that's obviously a solution, but it also does open up a new host of headaches where 4 of your clanmates forget to change their troll bases. So in my scenario, I think it's easier just to have no scouting on prep day and a 24-hour cooldown before you can allow your clanmates to attack your base. That way you can still make fine-tuned adjustments, you can still have all the fun we talked about in the pro column of the idea, of the whole friendly challenge idea, without having to worry about it affecting dramatically or adding sandboxing to the game, which they just removed from the game. So I hope that kind of makes sense to you. It's a very easy solution, and there's a few reasons why I like it, right? I mean, this solution shouldn't negatively affect the casual gamer much, and it's still fine for streaming or YouTube series, and it's very easy to understand. Everybody in the game, whether you're casual or more competitive, understands that there's a 23-hour prep day and a 24-hour battle day, and I'm sure everybody would understand, from your little nephew to your mom, that hey, we want you to be able to benefit from this new feature in the game, but because Battle Day is 24 hours, we don't want it to be abused in certain ways in Clan Wars, so we're giving you a 24-hour cooldown on the bases that you just designed to share with your clanmates. And plus, there's 50 clanmates in a clan. Odds are you're going to have a large selection of bases to choose from at all times. So that is my idea for the fix. Now, before I let you guys go, I do want to give my thoughts on this big feature in general. So this is where I get a little negative, and I don't like to be negative because generally I'm a pretty optimistic guy. But this feature was not what I was looking for in the game right now. And listen, I am in the minority. This is probably the 3rd time I've said it. I'm a more hardcore competitive guy. I really want an institution in the game that gives rankings to individual players based on skill, not just time and repetition. Trophy pushing to me is totally broken. I'm never gonna do it again because I don't have time to sit in clouds for 16 hours a day anymore. And let's face it, all the people on the top of the leaderboard anyway, they're just pilots. They're just people who are paid to play other people's accounts, and they sit there with 15 devices and stare at the clouds all day. We've all seen the pictures on Instagram. Trophy pushing is totally flawed. I don't even know why people do it, to be honest with you. I don't know. I mean, I do get the sense that there's nothing left to do in the game, so that you're doing it in that regard. But, we just need a way to rank people based on skill of some sort. So that's why I so desperately wanted to see an update that was Speed Wars or Clan War tournaments. I know that affects mainly competitive players, but just like Clan Wars really changed the game, brought in a huge new audience, and even casual players did Clan Wars. That's how I think that Mini Wars or Speed Wars would go the same type of way. And for the competitive players, it would give them that area in the game where they could compete and, essentially climb up the leaderboards and maybe go to a live event like Clash Royale has, where you're seeing, instead of just some random trophy pushers, no offense to the people who were at ClashCon, but instead of seeing just random people, you're seeing the best the game has to offer live against each other in a 5-on-5 format. Really cool. It could be awesome. I would watch it streamed. I'd be very entertained. And I think that there is a spot for e-gaming and Clash of Clans, and I'm gonna keep beating that drum for as long as I'm covering the game, for as long as I'm playing the game. That's going to be my big goal, my big desire. I do think it will translate with the casual audience as well. I mean, picture it. 30-minute war. It's a 10-minute prep period and a 20-minute attack period. Now, obviously, all these could be subject to change. I'm just throwing something out at you guys. But a 30-minute war, you can queue in with 4 of your clanmates, so it's 5v5. There is loot at stake here, and there's a 12-hour cooldown. You can only do this every 12 hours, maybe every 24 hours, but you can't do it an unlimited amount of times. That way, it would cap the amount of repetition, and then people with the most skill would gravitate towards the top without unfair time advantages. So anyway, 5-on-5, you're playing for loot like you do in normal clan wars. The winner gets a lot, the loser gets a little bit, and you're playing for something else too, and that is clan war points, or speed war points, or mini war points, some sort of war points that each individual gets based on that speed wars result. And then over time, the people who have the best teammates and the best skill will start to gravitate together, and then there'll be a leaderboard with the all-time leaders in war points, and then there'll be seasonal leaderboards just like we see. There can even be play-in invitationals. Just picture, even if you're not a super competitive player, going into a speed war with 4 of your clanmates at, hey, 8 p.m. guys, I'm going to do a speed war. Anybody in? It would be so much fun to do something as simple as that, and you can make it much more complex if you wanted to. It just depends. And these systems, this infrastructure is already built in the game. We saw something very similar to it at ClashCon and all the tournaments leading up to ClashCon. So I really hope that is coming in the future, and you know what, guys? I would bet it is coming this year. I think there is going to be a new competitive mode added to the game this year, and that's not just the optimist, that's the realist in me, because I do think they need a new feature like that. I think that the friendly, if they fix this whole modding issue, or the whole sandboxing issue rather, I do think that the friendly challenge feature is a good idea, because it does bring more interest to the casual gamer, and it does make for more entertaining live streams, and it does add those elements we talked about on the pros section. So it's a good idea, it's just not the idea that I personally wanted to see in the game right now. I hope we do see this more competitive element added to the game, and it will be so interesting to see where we end up with these friendly challenges. So guys, this is gonna wrap it up for this episode. It's been a long one, but I had a lot of thoughts on this. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below, and guys, as always, take care.